not been among this committee's finest hours. There have been hasty changes in recommendation and contract terms right up until tonight's vote. There was haphazard sharing of information during the due diligence process, and there has been a lack of clarity continuing until this moment about what the real savings from outsourcing will be. So we could have and should have done better in arriving at tonight's decision. But all that aside, tonight's vote boils down to one thing. How does this committee view their obligation to provide for the education of our children? Since committee members obviously cannot provide education directly to the children themselves, school districts must, by definition, also be employers. In order to fulfill our responsibility to educate our children, we must hire others to do so. And all of my colleagues would agree that along with the role of employer comes certain responsibilities. To treat employees fairly and within the law, to provide a safe workplace and a fair wage. Some employer responsibilities are written into law and regulation, like paying the minimum wage and workmen's compensation, and other responsibilities reflect a matter of choice and the values of the employer, like providing paid sick leave and health insurance. And so as I thought through the choice before us in making this decision to outsource, I think the fundamental question we face is how to balance those two responsibilities, which we are required to fulfill. Our responsibility to provide for the education of our children, and our responsibility to be a decent and fair employer. I believe that with this decision to outsource, we have made the wrong calculation in that balance equation. We have chosen a relatively small financial gain, which I firmly believe will not materially affect the quality of education in our schools, over our obligation to serve as a fair and responsible employer. When we took the decision to outsource, the district was not faced with the necessity to close schools, to fire teachers, to cut important educational programs like art or music. On the evening we took the decision to outsource, we had before us a proposal to meet a balanced budget without outsourcing, without firing any employees or cutting a single educational program. We made the decision to outsource not because we had to, but because we could, and we have lost a considerable amount in the process. With this decision to outsource, we have made a statement about what we value, and in my view, it's a statement that does not reflect well on us as a committee, as a district, or as a town. With this decision, we say that some of our employees deserve a fair wage, decent health care, and time off when they are sick or injured, and others do not. With this decision, we say that when times are difficult, we will require those at the bottom of the pay ladder to sacrifice, but not require others who can better afford it to do so. With this decision, we say that we can afford a $1 million soccer field and a $20 million middle school, but we cannot afford to provide health insurance or retirement benefits to the people we ask to clean up after us. With this decision, we say that our values do not require us to treat all of our employees with equal amounts of respect and dignity. We say that it is fine for East Greenwich to shift our responsibility for our employees to the state and federal government, because SSC custodians and their families will likely qualify for food, housing, and other government subsidies. Their salary and lack of benefits are not uncommon in the service industry. They are among those companies whose business model relies on an underpaid workforce that is willing to work without employer-sponsored health care or retirement. The manner in which SSC provides savings to the district and makes a profit is no mystery. There is no magical formula for efficiency that they bring to the district. The way they save money is by paying their employees poorly and failing to provide even a basic benefit package to their full-time employees. My colleagues will remind me that this is how the market works. The school district should not pay any more for custodial services than we could purchase those services for elsewhere. But in a market economy, there has always been, and will always be, a fine line between paying what the market will sustain and exploiting employees who have no other choice but to accept what is offered to them and leave as soon as they can find something better. Until now, we have not been among those employers who chose to pay the lowest the market will bear. Until now, we have chosen to be an employer whose hiring practices reflected values of fair treatment of our employees, including providing them with a living wage, decent health care, and the opportunity to retire without living in poverty. With this contract with SSC, that has changed, And we join the ranks of businesses who believe that the bottom line trumps the well-being of our employees. It is not a trade-off that we were forced to make, but one we choose to make, and is not a change of which this town or this district can be proud. My colleagues on the committee believe that it is not only our right but our duty to proceed with outsourcing, because they believe the money we may save on custodial services will be better spent on educational initiatives. In fact, they have on more than one occasion characterized our current spending on custodial services as wasteful. But remember that the way SSC saves money is by paying low wages, not providing health care or retirement, and limiting vacation and sick time for their full-time employees. I do not believe that providing these things to custodians is wasteful, but providing them to our other employees, which we do, is not. I too would like to see more programs for our kids, more languages, more technology, more courses. That's why I serve on the school committee. I too believe that things have to change in the way that all public employers and employees think about wages and benefits. Our pension system, our policies on overtime, staffing, and management rights need to be rational. Employees need to share in their health care costs. But this choice, which characterizes spending on health care and sick time for employees as wasteful, and to characterize such spending as wasteful only when it applies to custodians and not to other employees, is not worthy of this town or this committee. In pursuing a rational relationship with our public employees, we do not need to completely abandon our responsibility as an employer to provide a decent standard of living and health care to our employees. This decision to outsource our custodian services to SSC is wrong for the district. It is wrong on the process by which we arrived at the decision. It's wrong on the vendor we have chosen, and it is wrong on the substance of the contract itself. I call on one of my colleagues to vote no.